The biggest advantage of the Pocket 3 is its compact gimbal, which allows it to deliver results comparable to professional mirrorless cameras, but in an incredibly portable form. It's genuinely a camera that fits cinematic shooting into your pocket. That's why I call it a pocket cinema camera. But is it just the camera that gives your footage that cinematic feel? Definitely not. The gear you pair with it plays a huge role as well. That's why I've created a separate video on my channel where I showcase accessories that elevate the Pocket 3's performance and make it feel more professional. If you haven't seen that one, I'll drop the link down below. Be sure to check it out. Today we're diving into one of the most powerful yet overlooked upgrades, filters. These aren't just fancy glass, they're like cheat codes for your footage. Whether you're dealing with harsh sunlight, unwanted reflections, or just want that dreamy film look, the right filter makes all the difference. There are many companies out there produce filter for Pocket 3, and guess what? I already bought most of them. To guide you in choosing the right filters for your needs, I'll be sharing some of my top recommendations and explaining exactly when and where to use each type. We'll cover it all from ND filters to CPL filters, from creative filters like black mist, white mist, or they call it pro mist as well, all the way to LPF and macro filters. And everything I mentioned in this video will have organized links down below. I have filters from SmallRig, Ulanzi, and K&F Concept, each designed for different creative purposes. Let's kick things off with SmallRig. SmallRig has developed a variety of filter kits specifically for the Pocket 3, including black mist, white mist, and a CPL filter kit. Their main filter kit features a 2 to 5 stop variable ND filter, an ND16 plus CPL combo filter, and an LPF filter, which we will take a closer look at in just a moment. There is also a dedicated ND filter set available, which includes ND8, ND64, and ND256 filters. Let's take a look at the ND filter kit. As a nice bonus, the package also includes a screen protector, which you can stick onto the Pocket 3's display to protect it from cracks or scratches. These filters are magnetic, making them incredibly easy to attach. Just snap on, it clicks securely into place, and as you can see, it instantly darkens the image. One smart feature is that when you power off the camera, the filter automatically retracts inward. So you won't have to remove it every time, a small but very convenient touch. As you probably know, ND filters, short for natural density filters. They are the most commonly used and almost must filters in filmmaking. They reduce the amount of light hitting the camera sensor, which is especially helpful in bright lighting conditions. Think of ND filters as sunglasses for your camera. ND filters may come in fixed values starting from ND2 and going up from there. The higher the number, the more light the filter blocks and the darker your image becomes. For instance, an ND8 filter is typically ideal for late afternoon or golden hour shooting. ND32 or ND64 work best in broad daylight or very bright environments. When you need extreme motion blur or are capturing time-lapse footage, ND256 or higher can be perfect choice. Using ND filters allows you to control your shutter speed properly and achieve smooth cinematic motion blur. This is a key factor in giving your videos that polished professional feel. The most natural looking motion blur to the human eye is created when the camera's shutter speed is set to double the frame rate. So if you're filming at 25 fps, the ideal shutter speed for natural motion blur is 1/50. But here's the problem. In daylight, using a 1/50 shutter speed often results in an overexposed image. That's exactly where ND filters come into play. They help reduce the incoming light so you can keep your shutter speed consistent and maintain that beautiful cinematic blur. But you already know this, right? But maybe you don't know, if we don't use this ND filter, what happens? Let's have a look at this example. In this footage, you will notice something strange. The car is clearly moving, but it looks like the wheels aren't spinning, almost like the vehicle is sliding across the road. That's happening because the shutter speed is too fast due to automatic exposure settings. When your camera is in auto mode, it may set the shutter speed to something like 1/1000 or even faster to properly expose the image in bright light conditions. However, such fast shutter speeds result in very sharp, crisp frames that significantly reduce motion blur, making movement appear unnatural and overly rigid. High-value ND filters like the ND256 are perfect for shooting time-lapses during the day, but they are usually too dark for regular video recording. With an ND256 filter, you can dramatically lower your shutter speed even down to 1 second, which creates stunning motion blur in your time-lapse footage. Even for night time-lapses, using lower value ND filters like ND4 or ND8 can be incredibly effective. They are especially useful for scenes with lots of movement, like passing car lights, where you want that smooth cinematic motion blur that gives your shot a dramatic and artistic feel. Right now I've attached the ND8 filter and it's already giving us a nice dark base exposure. Let's switch to manual settings and slightly bump up the ISO. I'll raise it just a bit more, setting it to ISO 200, just enough to brighten the image without overexposing it. At this point I have the ND8 filter on and I set the shutter speed to 1 second to create as much motion blur as possible. After confirming the settings, I've scrolled up here to choose an unlimited shooting duration, so I can stop recording whenever I want, or if I prefer, I can set it to run for a fixed time like 1 hour. Now check out the result. With that long shutter and motion blur, the moving lights look like they are painting glowing trails across the road. It's a beautiful, dreamy effect, almost as if the lights are gliding effortlessly through space. Pretty cool, right? Now, let's try the same technique, but this time during the daytime. In the footage you are seeing here, I used an ND256 filter because the sunlight was bright. By lowering the shutter speed all the way down to 1 second, I was able to capture a daytime time-lapse with stunning motion blur. Without filters like this, achieving this kind of visual effects simply wouldn't be possible. As the ND filter value increases, so does its ability to block light, and with the Osmo Pocket 3, you can even stack 2 or 3 ND filters together to darken the image further. But there's also a more convenient option, variable ND filters. For example, I have SmallRig's ND2.5 variable ND filter. Let's put it on the camera. As you can see, it made it darker, and I can switch it, make it even more darker or lighter. Or I have K&F Concept ND232 as well as ND32 and 512. Let's put this one, ND32. As you can see, it makes image darker than the other one, and I can adjust the darkness or brightness. These are great if you don't want to constantly switch filters throughout the day. You just attach one and adjust it as the lighting changes. Super convenient. When selecting your filter, think about the lighting conditions you will be filming in. First, set your frame rate, let's say at 25 FPS, then set your shutter speed to double that, in this case 1/50. After that, adjust the filter to properly expose the scene while keeping that ideal shutter speed for cinematic motion blur. Once it's attached, you can easily control the exposure by rotating the ring, darkening or brightening the image based on your shooting needs. But if it's still needed to block more light, you can stack an additional ND filter on top. That said, it's best not to stack more than 2 filters at once. Adding too much weight may cause the gimbal to struggle with balance, which could affect your footage and the stabilization. Now, while variable ND filters are incredibly practical, they do have their quirks. They work by combining 2 polarizing layers. As you rotate the front element, there is a specific angle where the 2 polarizers cross paths, and that can result in an unwanted X-shaped pattern across your footage. The tricky part, you often won't notice it on the Pocket 3's small screen while recording. It's usually only after transferring the footage to your computer that you realize the shot was compromised. That doesn't mean these filters are bad, not at all. They are very useful, but you need to be extra careful not to rotate past that critical angle where the cross effect starts to appear. Now let's talk about CPL filters. CPL stands for Circular Polarizer Filter. Its main function is to manipulate how light enters the lens, especially by reducing reflections, making it a great tool for controlling glare. It helps eliminate unwanted reflections on surfaces like glass, water, or anything shiny. CPL filters are also commonly used to deepen blue skies and boost contrast, making them especially popular for landscape shooting, outdoor environments, and waterfront scenes. They're fantastic for adding drama or punch to skies. In short, CPL filters are your go-to whenever reflections are a problem. I particularly recommend them for those who love filming cars. CPL filters do a great job minimizing glare and reflections on glossy vehicle surfaces while keeping the rest of your image, especially the background, nice and crisp. ND filters that also include CPL functionality give you the best of both worlds, letting you control your shutter speed while also cutting down on glare. Alternatively, you can use a standalone CPL filter and stack an ND filter on top. There are also combo filters available from the K&F like ND8, 16, 32 and ND64 with built-in CPL. And in my opinion, there is really no downside to using a filter with both functions. In fact, it often leads to better results overall. Personally, I always prefer ND filters that come with built-in CPL functionality. And for that purpose, my recommendation will be K&F Concept. And it's not just for the Osmo Pocket 3. I also use K&F Concept Nano X series filters on all my mirrorless cameras, like these filter sets. These are ND464 variable ND filters, as well as they have the CPL functionality. And the biggest advantage of these filters are they are the Nano X. This means that you will never see the X crossing. The Nano X series is specifically engineered to avoid that issue. It limits the rotation range just before the cross pattern begins to form, which is exactly why it's called Nano X. A purely designed ND filter can ruin your image quality, so making the right choice really matters. So this one is 62 millimeters. These are for mirrorless cameras, not for Pocket 3. And this one 49 millimeters. And this one 67 millimeters. And whenever I buy a new lens, I always go and buy one of the K&F Concepts ND filter, but Nano X series ND4-64 with the CPL one. So I really like these things so much. K&F Concept, this is very good quality and they have very good price. When I use the ND filters with my lenses, I also use the filter flip holder. This clever little accessory let me flip the filter out of the way instantly when I don't need it without having to take it off completely. And here's a quick tip. I carry all my mirrorless ND filters in a dedicated filter case like this. It keeps everything organized and protected. Of course, these are the bonus information for you. As a Pocket 3, my top choice is also an ND filter set with CPL functionality from K&F Concept because I already got used to use them with my mirrorless cameras without having an issue. But ND set coming with the K&F is not a variable filter set. It's a fixed value set that includes ND8, 16, 32 and 64. And the good thing is all combined with CPL. This set is hands down my favorites, and if I could only pick one filter kit for the Pocket 3, this will be it. I don't need anything else. This is enough for my all-day shooting. That said, K&F Concept does offer a variety of excellent filter sets. If you are interested in exploring them, I will leave some helpful links down in the description. Now, just to be clear, I personally wouldn't recommend using any variable ND filter on the Pocket 3. Not even the ones from the K&F, while the Nano X series is fantastic at preventing cross patterns on the larger mirrorless cameras, it doesn't provide the same level of protection on a Pocket 3. If you're not fully confident in how to use variable ND filters, or if you simply want to avoid any risk of ruining your footage, I suggest sticking to fixed value filters until you gain more experiences like the one I recommend you, K&F's CPL combined filter set. Now you will ask me that I also showed you SmallRig filters. Are they bad? No, not at all. But if you want to an ND filter set with the CPL, SmallRig doesn't have. One set includes ND16 CPL, but you will not get ND8, ND16, ND30, ND64 with the combination of the CPL also. But you can buy one CPL and one ND16. It also works. However, for the convenience, I think K&F, they have an amazing set already there, and I would suggest buy them rather than dealing with stacking them or trying to find your way. Now let's dive into something a little more creative. And I really like those filters more, but if you don't know when and where to use it, they may also ruin your shots. These are black mist and white mist filters. If you're going for a cinematic, dreamy aesthetic in your videos, these diffusion filters can help you get that look effortlessly. Black mist filters add a subtle haze to your image, especially around light sources. They soften harsh highlights and give your footage a more vintage, film-like quality, perfect for dialing down that ultra-sharp over the digital feel of modern cameras. White mist, or they call it pro mist as well, filters work similarly but with a slightly different visual effect. They also soften the image but tend to add more glow and brightness. Light sources appear more diffuse and radiant, creating a soft, almost magical atmosphere. Both filters really shine when used for portrait shots. They help smooth skin tones, soften facial features, and add a beautiful, ethereal quality to your footage. Ideal for storytelling, cinematic vlogs, or anything with an emotional or surreal tone. The key difference between the two lies in how they affect your image overall. Black mist focuses primarily on highlights and light sources, gently diffusing them while leaving the rest of the image largely intact, just with a slight softness. White mist, on the other hand, influences the entire frame, adding a more pronounced glow and overall softness to everything in view. Sometimes when I really want to push that dreamy cinematic vibe, I'll combine both black mist and white mist filters to intensify that hazy, nostalgic feel. If you're looking to try this out on the Pocket 3, I recommend SmallRig's 3 filter kit, which includes black mist, pro mist, and a CPL filter, a fantastic all-in-one bundle. I'll also include some great options from K&F Concept that feature black mist filters in case you want to explore other brands as well. I usually use these diffusion filters when there's a light source behind me. That's when their cinematic magic really stands out. Let's attach a black mist filter. And let's have a look at this light, for example. Yes, I think this is a better example. So let's remove this one. It's a normal light, and let's put the black mist filter. Watch how the background light begins spread out and bloom. You can clearly see that soft haze effect taking shape. Now let's remove this again, and let's put the white mist or pro mist filter. This is with the filter, and this is without the filter. Let's put both together. As you can see, the impact now increased. The haziness impact is increased. Also, my skin gets softened and the light gets hazier, softer, and more flattering look on camera. Some filters you can buy individually, while others are only sold in bundles. Now let's talk about the LPF filter. What exactly is it? LPF stands for Light Pollution Filter. As the name suggests, this filter is designed to reduce unwanted light pollution, especially helpful for those interested in astrophotography. Its primary job is to block specific wavelengths of artificial light, helping to cut down on the glow from city lights when you are shooting the night sky. This can sometimes result in clearer, more detailed photos or videos of stars. That said, the effectiveness of LPF filters is a bit debated in the community. For many users, the difference might be subtle or even negligible. So unless you are really into night sky photography, I wouldn't say it's an essential addition to your kit. Now, let's move on to one of my personal favorites, the macro filter. The Pocket 3 usually has a minimum focusing distance of about 20 centimeters or around 8 inches. But with a macro filter, you can get much closer, down to 2 to 3 centimeters, so less than an inch. and magnify your subjects up to 10 times. This opens up a whole new world of incredible close-up shots revealing macroscopic details you wouldn't normally see. The catch, you can only focus within that very tight range, 2 to 3 centimeters or like 1 inch. If you move further away, the image becomes blurry, so you need to keep your subject really close to the lens. Also, because you're working at such a close scale, even the slightest vibration or shake is magnified, which can make your footage look shaky or blurry. To get the sharpest results, it's best to use the macro filter with a tripod or an electric dolly, giving you the stability needed for crisp, detailed close-ups. Okay, to wrap it all, filters are an essential part of your toolkit to unlock the full cinematic potential of the Pocket 3, but not all filters may work perfectly. Whether it's controlling light, reducing glare, or adding atmospheric and softness, the right filters make a huge difference. Again, I've included the links below to all filters and sets I mentioned, so you can explore and pick the ones that suits your style best. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay tuned for more gear tips and cinematic tricks. See you in the next one.